is everyone?
Just perfect.
Cold, yeah. Okay, we know about that. You know, I actually, our home is down in Phoenix, and my wife called me last night. She said, just want to let you know it's 80 degrees warmer here in Phoenix than it was where you're at. I said, thanks a lot. So, and it's always great to be here. So this is going to be fun. It's only going to take about an hour, and I really want to thank you for all coming out and love this. So thanks so much. So we're going to dig right into this and connected, right? That's good to know. And we're going to first of all talk a little bit about branding and what it is and why we're doing this. Because, and Amanda did talk a little bit about that, touched on it, but we actually made a list of what are we trying to accomplish. And so number one was to put Marion on the map as more than a bedroom community. You know how we all travel, like most of our crew is from the Seattle area. So when they travel, they say, oh, we're from Seattle. Even though they might live in Mercer Island or Issaquah or Bothell or somewhere else. And even I said, you know, we live down in Phoenix. Well, we actually live in Peoria. See what I mean? And so we want to put Marion on the map so that when you travel, you don't say, I live in Cedar Rapids. And nothing against Cedar Rapids at all. We think it's a great community. But wouldn't it be cool if Marion had such a strong identity that people would know you, and they say, oh, I know where you're at. You're right next to Cedar Rapids. Wouldn't that be cool? So this is about putting you on the map as more than a bedroom community. Number two is to differentiate you. You know one thing about Iowa? You have more cities and towns per capita than any state in the United States. You have 900 cities and towns. That's amazing. But the point is, how do you differentiate yourself from the other 899, you know, or the other 900 if there's 901? And so that's what you're doing. In these days, every single city and town in Iowa is at our fingertips in a fraction of a second via the web. So how do you differentiate yourself? And you're not the only bedroom community. And so that's number two. Number three is to increase the commercial and industrial tax base. Right now, your residential communities carry about 75% of the entire tax base load. So if we can improve downtown, get more businesses in the industrial park and everything, it would be great to have the commercial sector carry more of that load. So that's one of the goals of this whole effort. And then number four is to encourage families to live and work in Marion. We've been here all week, and of course we were here a couple months ago, and we did notice that at 7:30 in the morning there's a rush hour out of Marion, and then right around between 4:30 and 5 there is a rush hour back into Marion. Wouldn't it be cool if we could get people to actually live and work in Marion? And that keeps the money local. And then number five, to slow the leakage of locally earned money being spent in other cities and towns right around Marion. And so every community, particularly bedroom communities, have a lot of leakage because where you do your major shopping, are you across Collins in the mall? Where are you spending your money? And we want to have more and more of Marion's money being spent in Marion, which we think would be cool. And then number six is to continue working to make Uptown the showcase community in Iowa. And we've worked in Pella and some other great downtowns in the state. And we think that downtown or uptown Marion has just as much potential. So how can we make it even better? We're going to show you some cool things about that. And then number seven, to attract visitors in the community. So when, Cedar Rapids area convention visitor does a great job bringing people into the area. We want to Marion have even more, get more of that tourism. And so that's one of the goals. And then finally, to develop a unified marketing effort. Because right now, the Chamber's doing their thing, Uptown is doing their thing, Economic Development is doing their thing, the city's doing their thing, and you know what? Wouldn't it be great if we get everybody on the same page pulling in the same direction? And so that's one of the goals. And with this whole branding thing, there's two kinds of brands. There's the feel-good brand, and the most overused line in the United States is this: a great place to live, work, and play. Isn't that special? That's what everybody says about their community. And I'll bet all 900 towns say that. And so that's the feel-good brand. But this one we're talking about is the economic development brand. It's about keeping money in Marion and bringing more money in Marion. And by the way, why is this about money? Because when you're a city, this is all about the more money that can come into the city, the more things they can do for you as citizens. Whether it's parks, whether it's more investment in downtown, whether it's more amenities, the trails, wayfinding signage, all of those kinds of things. And that is what this is about. And so, that's the whole idea. That's everything we're trying to do is import more than you export. Balance of trade. And so, just to recap, what we did last time, we talked a lot about branding, and I'm just going to quickly go through that so you understand what this whole branding thing is about. And first of all, branding is the art of differentiation. What sets you apart from everyone else? That's a piece of cake. Number two, it's a perception. When you say, I'm from Marion, what do people say? Where's that? Or, oh, you're that bedroom community next to Cedar Rapids. Or do they say, whoa, really nice? Or, what is their perception? That is what a brand is. It's a perception. And how those are generally created are visual cues. So, for instance, if you're coming up first in Cedar Rapids, you come to Collins, and you go across, you see signs, welcome to Cedar Rapids. What do you see there? As you start to go down the hill and up, it's visual cues. And that's probably not the very first best impression of Marion. But that's how people judge. We judge the book by the cover. So that's something we're working on. People and attitudes when they come into town. And then it's word of mouth, what people are saying. Oh, I went up to Marion, they had really cool amphitheater. Or those kinds of things. And then finally now, social media. Branding used to take 20 years because it's what people think of you. And now you can do you can change people's perceptions in 2 or 3 years because of social media. People having conversations. So that's really important. And number 3, logos and slogans are not brands. You're going to see some logos. We're going to see some that we did for Marion. But you know what? I got a question for you. Have you ever gone anywhere because they had a really good logo? Did you say, man, let's head over to Ames. I really like their logo. Or have you ever said, I really don't want to go to Dubuque because I think their logo sucks. By the way, I have no idea what Dubuque's logo looks like. But see what I mean? So I don't want you to get hung up on logos and slogans. You're going to see some. And that's where they make up 2% of a brand. They get 98% of the attention from locals. I don't know if I like that. And by the way, would you buy Reebok for Nike because you think the Nike swoosh is a dumb logo? Really? Would you do it because of the logo? Would you pick one over the other? I mean, would you buy Chevy over Ford or vice versa because you say, you know what, I want to go buy Ford because I like their logo better than Chevy's logo? See, it doesn't matter. We don't buy things just because of the logo. The logo is part of the feeling you're trying to portray. Or even Pepsi or Coke. I drink Coke because I like red better than blue. It doesn't matter. And so I don't want you to get hung up on that. Then the fourth thing you need to know is you do not use focus groups. Focus groups are the perfect way to come up with something really generic. Now, we did have a brand development team. They were not a focus group. They helped us facilitate the process when we asked questions about schools and library and Uptown and Lau Park and those kinds of things. But you can't use focus groups. Even Steve Jobs at Apple said, we've never used a focus group. He says, a lot of times the customer doesn't know what they want until you show it to them. What was really funny is I had an iPhone, I had the MacBook Pro. Why would I ever want an iPad? But I went into an Apple store, I had an iPad in my hand, and you know what? I walked out of the store with like 8 of them and handed one to every one of our staff. You see what I mean? And so you can't use, so there's no focus groups here. And then, number 5, is it always evokes emotion. It's a feeling. When you evoke emotion, you self-feel. Disney does it perfect, where dreams come true. The happiest place on earth. And that's going to be important. And so hopefully we'll do that. We're going to show you what we came up with. And then successful brands are built on product, not marketing. So you're going to put a promise out there. You're going to put things out there. And when we come into Marion, are you delivering on that promise? And so product is what makes it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about product. That's a lot of the work we've been doing. And you never roll out a brand until you can deliver on the promise that it represents. So you don't roll out a brand. In your case, we came up with a brand that you're going to go, well, duh. And I know it's going to hit the paper. Well, we paid him how much money to come here and help facilitate this process? I could have told you that for $5. And then my response is going to be, then why didn't you? See, sometimes it's right in front of us. We just don't know how to package it. See what I mean? And so you don't roll out a brand. In your case, you can start with what you got right away. And you cannot do branding by public consent. And I want to talk about that. If we went and asked everybody in this room what Marion should be known for, and by the way, we did ask a lot of people, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. You know what we'd end up with? Because somebody say, well, we should be cultural, we should talk about our train, our rail history, we should be branded around our trails, our recreation, small town feel. Somebody even said country living, but even in our group we said steer away from country living. You know, see what I mean? And so what happens is, you know what you end up with? Come to Marion, we're a great place to live, work, and play. And so, when you do this, you cannot let local politics kill your efforts. You know, I love this quote. A byproduct of brands for the people is the committee that compromises and kills a potential brand home run. This is why you never see statues of committees in public parks. You see brave leaders. If we would have done this top down from city council, and made it a public project, and by the way, the public did weigh in big time. More than 1,200 people weighed in. But if we would have said, hey, everybody, and by the way, at this presentation, we're not going to say, are you okay with this? What do you think? We're going to say, isn't this cool? If you want to do it as this way, this is the 7 phases. Number 1 is enthusiasm. Oh, that Brooks guy came in, and that team, they did a really good job. We're really pumped about this. And then we're doing all the planning. And by the way, we've been doing all the planning this week. The initial part. It's going to go for another 90 days. We're not even done yet. And then there's disillusionment as people start blogging and stuff. Say, well, I don't know if I really like that, or that could be anybody, anywhere, right? Then there's disillusionment. And then the next thing there is we've got fear and panic. And then we've got search for the guilty. And then we've got punishment of the innocent. And finally, praise and honors for the non-participants. Did I get that about right? So, number 9, you build your brand on feasibility, not just local sentiment. We listened, we heard, and we're going to go through the process we went through. But at the end of the day, we thought, of all these ideas, which one is the most feasible? Which one will accomplish those 8 things we put there, those 8 goals for Marion? And so, what we've done, and then you build your brand through public relations. Advertising is used to maintain your ownership position. Public relations, once again, it's what people say about you. That's back to that word of mouth, that social media, all of those kinds of things. And by the way, there's only 3 killers of any branding effort, ever. There's never a 4th one. And the first one is local politics. And by the way, it's worse with membership organizations than it is with city councils. Well, I belong to the chamber, and that's not my niche. And, I pay my dues. You know what I mean? And so that's what we get. And those, we tend to water it down. So local politics, the number 1 killer. Lack of champions. The people, because you know what? Not everybody in this room is going to agree with the direction we put out there. There's going to be some people that are going to say, well, you left somebody out. But you know what? To win in branding, you have to have a narrow focus. And so lack of champions. And finally, the 3rd one is lack of money, both private and public. Once again, it's built on product, not just marketing. And this is in yellow for one reason. If you have really good champions, they will get through the politics and they'll find the money. It's that simple. So what we've been doing since I was here in, when was that, September? Since I was here in September, October, we actually started before that. So over the last several months, we as a committee, and remember, we're here just to facilitate, working with a group of people. I'll tell you, we've been going through a 13-step process. Sounds like AA, doesn't it? But It's been kind of like that. There's, some of them. And the first thing we did is we started with a brand development team or brand development committee. We were the outside facilitator. So we did that. And this is who has been helping us. And by the way, this group of people has been with us all week. They have been here Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon. And they're here this morning. They put a lot of time, and that was just this week. We've had telephone conferences with them. They've been reading through the 1,200 comments. They've been doing good. I'd like this group to stand up. Go ahead, stand up. And I'd like to give them a hand for volunteering. They have been awesome to work with. But I'll tell you, they will tell you this was not easy because even as a group, we couldn't agree on things. And that's the problem. And so once again, they are not a focus group. They helped us through this process because they know the politics and the projects that are in the works and what's being done. And so they've been great, been really awesome to work with. So we did that. Then the next thing we did is we put out an online survey or a way for you to weigh in on Marion's future. And so that was up for like 3 weeks, and we actually extended it. We had more than 1,200 people answered the 9 questions we put out there. And it was awesome. Plus, John came in and interviewed nearly 100 different people. And then we've had emails and telephone conversations with others. And then we reviewed many of your upcoming projects and plans. What are you doing in Uptown and other areas of the city? What are the schools doing, hospitals, you name it. So we've been doing a tremendous amount of this. So once again, we said we can't do this by public consent. But you know what? It's really important to ask. So the brand and stuff that we're about to show you came from you. But what we're doing is putting it together without public. We're not coming back and saying, are you okay with this? And that's what we're talking about. And so it was really great response. We read through all of them, and there were some that were pretty sarcastic. And there were some that were really, really good, and some of them that were funny. And this is probably the top 10 things we heard. Local schools are our top asset. And these are just general things. We heard lots of things. Nothing to do. We need a major draw. Some of these things, you probably said, oh yeah, I wrote all of these. Good number of shops and restaurants. So people, there's some positives, some negatives. Parks and recreational opportunities are great. And then another one was our community is the right size and feel. People really liked it. They're hoping it retains its small town charm. And our community is very safe. Streets need repair, traffic flow, navigating issues, trying to find stuff was a problem. We need better restaurants. These are just common threads. Uptown retail is a limited business hours. And one we heard a lot about is our police are too aggressive at ticketing. Even when we did the assessment, we came into a restaurant, they said that. Watch out for the cops here in Marion. But these are just, and by the way, we had all kinds of comments. I'm just telling you some of the things that we heard over and over again, like hundreds of times. And so and by the way, we've never had any problem with any police in Marion, in our times that we've been here. And so sometimes there are more perceptions than reality. But I just want to give you a taste of what we heard. So what we did, we heard all those 1,200. By the way, the book of all those comments, because you know what, there wasn't multiple choice for you that took the survey. We were actually asking you just to spill your guts. What are the 3 things do you think are the best assets? The 3 biggest challenges? What do you where do you go? And we made an essay. So we had to read through all of those. And there were some late nights reading those. And so we did this. Now we've got to figure out, well, who the heck are we even trying to bring into Marion? And geographically, the first rule is always to bring the local residents here. Have them spend more time in Marion, whether it's uptown, whether it's out at Park, or whether it's out at the what's the park out there? Squaw Creek, which I love, great area out there. And so then, what about a 10-mile radius right around there? Northern parts of Cedar Rapids, maybe some Hiawatha, I don't know that we'd stretch over to Mount Vernon, but your surrounding communities, can we really appeal to them to spend more time and money in Marion? And then Cedar Rapids residents, we want them to spend some time. We're not trying to drink Cedar Rapids, but we'd like it if they said, hey, let's wonder what's going on up in Marion this weekend. Wouldn't that be cool? And then of course, visitors coming into the entire metro area, and then new and relocating businesses for economic development is across the country. We're not just looking in just this area. We're not trying to compete with other communities in Iowa. We're trying to bring people from other states. And so this is our geographic market. But then, who are we trying to attract demographically? Our focus is, and you're going to see this come together, young families. Late 20s, 30s, early 40s. That's our focus. And you know what? They're already here. And they're already coming. It's just obvious. And it just makes sense. So we really want to gear to there. Now, here's where some people say, well, what do you mean? If I want to retire here, you're not going to let me? Yes! We actually want you, but our focus, our narrow focus, is this group. Because even industry wants that group. Well-educated, free thinkers, overachievers. Do we have any in this room right now? Go ahead, raise your hand. Come on, every hand should be going up. Okay. And then young professionals. Creative classes, a term coined by Richard Florida. These are people in their late 20s that are probably not yet married, but this is where they want to settle down when they're ready to start a family. And so this is kind of our demographic of who our core market is. Everybody else is welcome. But that's our core market. Psychographic is your lifestyle. What are the things that you like? And parents looking for the best place in the Midwest to raise a family, we think it should be Marion. And so that's our psychograph, the lifestyle, people looking for that. Entrepreneurial spirits, that's the future, even in economic development, is startups and small business, people that live outside the box and think that way. And then, finally, wholesome atmosphere, a focus on education and kids. You can see where this brand is going, can't you? And so, we have to figure that out, and where are they, and who are they? Then the next thing we did is we compiled everything we heard about who we want to attract, psychographic, where they live, all of that stuff, and what you said as a community, and we had to filter out all the ideas. And there were a ton, because the question number 9 on that survey was, what do you think Marion should be known for? And there were some very common themes coming up in that, and I'm going to show you. And one thing we always say is always do what you're afraid to do. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. You cannot win by being all things to all people. Even business can't be all things to all people. And so, always do what you're afraid to do. This was the number one coming from all 1,200 our interviews was family focused. The brand had to be family focused. Kids and family. That was just resounding coming through the surveys and all the research we did. Then number 2 on that list was performing arts and culture. Places like this. Music, performing, visual arts, what's like the McGowan Gallery, which I think is awesome. Even like Wits End, all the little things they have in there. It's just fun stuff. And so performing arts and culture. And of course what you have out at the Kloppenfeld, did I pronounce it right? Kloppenfeld, wow, I'm close. It's a beautiful spot. But out at Lau Park, how about that? Did you notice I didn't say low? Took me a while. Capitals, recycling, that came up really clear. Recycling, renewal, reuse, the blue zone, all of those came up as part of that. And then sports and recreation was also on that list. Squaw Creek, there it is, trail systems. And then number 5 was Uptown Marion. They thought the brand could really hang on Uptown Marion. And we thought, we went through this list and thought, well, which one of these going to pick? You know what we did? We think we found a way to package all of them. But when you start packaging all of them, how does it make you different than everybody else? Well, maybe that will come through in the messaging, which we're going to show you. And so we thought, I think we can play into all of these. So now, one of the next things that's going to happen is creating the brand leadership team. This was the brand development team. They worked with us over all these months to help us come up with what you're about to see. Now we need to know who's going to help lead this effort. And so we are looking for BLs, just like the sandwich. We're looking for a team that will work together to start giving this message out there. So now, who's going to lead the effort for the next couple years? Or even for the next 6 months? And it could be our same group. It could get, some of you may say, I want to be on this. I want to do this. And so let me talk about this just for a minute. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world, and indeed is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. Most of the branding that we've done, and by the way, we've worked in 1,000 communities. We've worked in 45 U.S. states, every Canadian province, and all over Western Europe. And you know what we found out when it comes down to branding? Sometimes it's 2 or 3 people. But there are enough out there, they're enthusiastic enough that they're able to convince other people to come along. They're Pied Pipers. And then my favorite quote of all, one of my favorite quotes is, when odds are 1 in a million, be that one. By the way, your odds are not 1 in a million. Because what we're going to show you is already here. And then finally, this is brand leadership team. So I want you to think, could this be me? When you see this, and I'm going to show you, you're all saying, when are we going to see it? When are we going to see it? Some of you may go, yeah, that's kind of cool. They're not on this team. If you're going, yeah, this is so cool. What can I do to help? This is my audience. Then we want you. We need you. Because we need those Pied Pipers. They must be doers, not directors. This team will be the steering committee for a lot of the brand-related projects we're going to be out there. And so I'm really big into doers, not directors. Directors are the ones that come to a meeting once a month for an hour, and then they leave, and then you never see them until the next month and not do anything about it. We need people that are going to go to Kiwanis and Rotary and school boards and city council and everything to help champion this. And they need to be willing to take some hits, because there are going to be some hits. With the brand direction we found from you, most of the hits are going to come from your surrounding communities thinking, well, we think we already have that. Right? I mean, that's what happens. There's always competition. And then they will be brand cops. There's a look, there's a feel, there's logos, there's taglines. And they need to police this to make sure that we keep our continuity together. And number 5, more than half should have a vested interest in the brand. Which means if we were going to say that Marion should be Bike Town, Iowa, and we're going to be the biking capital state, by the way, we're not. But if we were, people that have vested interest be bike shops, bike rentals, bike enthusiasts, the people that just love biking. And so we're hoping we find the people in this brand that will be that. And then they are the voice of the brand, good speakers, because we do want them to go to Kiwanis and Rotary and Elks, Eagles, you name it, city councils, chamber board meetings, historical societies, library boards, hospital boards, school boards, you name it, and go out there and sell this brand. Okay? And then, where is it? They can't be politically divisive in the community. They can actually be elected officials. By the way, we did have one of your city council was on our committee, but the reason, even though the city funded this project, we didn't have much city staff other than the ones helping us. And the reason is, your elected officials were elected to be all things to all people. Brands aren't. See what I mean? So we don't want to put the city council. As a matter of fact, our brand leadership team is going to need to do a presentation to the city council and say, you know, we represent the community. We represent the businesses. We represent economic development. We represent tourism. We represent builders and things like that. We came up with this brand. City, we want you to help us where it's appropriate. Because do you think we could even get the council to agree on a logo? And you know what? I'm not picking on your council. It'll be any council anywhere. And so we took the politics away from it. But they could be an elected person, could be here easily. But we just don't want people that are really divisive. And then number 8, they will be the steering committee. And then they will push the agenda forward and never take no for an answer. And finally, half should be under 40. How many are going, man, you just counted me out. Remember, that's only half. The future of Marion rides with its youth. You know, Iowa is famous around the country for its biggest export being its youth. You know, you're the most educated state in the United States, and when the kids graduate, they tend to flee. That's the perception people have around the country. And so, but the future is there. So we want to make it young. And then finally, my favorite quote of all time is nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. Ralph Waldo Emerson. And here's the motto of a true champion. You ready? There it is. Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride! I used to have a picture of an old couple there, and I thought, it has to be under 40. So, if this is you, let us know. Come up to any one of us. Our brand team is going to be here. You can come and say, who's on the brand team? I want to be part of this. Let us know. We need you. We need champions. I'll show you some examples. This is Alpena, Michigan. This is their brand champions. And you know, at first I came and did the presentation, and we had all these. Oops, I just kicked that out by accident. This is a brand new remote, and so there we go. And so we had all these people, but you know what happens? The enthusiasm was really high and everything. Then people start to filter out. Somebody moves away. Somebody gets a new job, and it really came down to Jeff up there and Missy right here. They're the two that just keep pushing everybody else. We need those one or two people. They keep pushing and pushing. And by the way, this guy right here, his name is Dave, and he also is really good at pushing this because he's married to her and will do whatever she says. But they really push this forward. Great team. And this is up in Edmonton, Alberta. This is a little area called Old Strathcona. That's our team there. And Stephen right here and Murray right there are the two guys that are really pushing this one forward. It always comes down to one or two people. You know, this is Kenora, Ontario. Rob up here, the goofy-looking guy right there, he's really pushing this forward. You know, and Barb right here that runs the parts department. It's always one or two pushing everybody else on this team. And so these are just, and he's the mayor. He always pushes his way around. And by the way, he's a great champion, great guy. And then we have Allison up here who's been really great. She's our young face there. Now, some of you are saying, boy, I didn't see a whole lot of people under 40. And so it depends on where you're at. And so, but that is the future. And so they're great. So that's our next thing we got to do. But meanwhile, this group did the product brand bank. That's what we call it, the product brand bank. And I want to tell you some of the things that are in this list. The very first one is a wayfinding system. When I came here, did the assessment a couple of months ago, finding Loud Park, I found by accident. We were just driving around. You know what's weird is when you stay in Cedar Rapids, if you come up first, you know, I'm heading north, right? I'm heading north on first. All of a sudden, I'm on 7th. I think I'm still going north, but I'm not. I'm going east and west. I don't know where that changed. You know what I mean? So I remember, once we found Loud Park, my wife and I went out there to find it again. We kept going north. And wow, now all of a sudden now we're here in Field of Dreams territory. So we had to come back all in, and then we finally had to try to find, it wasn't on any navigation system, and we finally made a turn on 10th, and then we found it. And so wayfinding is going to be big. And so that's one of the recommendations. Gathering places, and we'll talk a little more about this in a bit. Additional children-friendly events and activities. You can tell that our focus is on family. And then continued revitalization of Uptown Marion. There's lots of things in the pipeline, lots of plans, a lot of things are being done. You're about to see 7th Street go through that. And then redevelopment of the Central Corridor, Tower Terrace area. And then business recruitment for downtown is in our list. And these are just a few of them. Bring Downtown Live 250 days a year. It hasn't been busy the last couple of days. But when you talk about downtowns, what comes first? People on a consistent basis. Retailers always follow where the people are. That is what happened way back in the 50s and 60s when they started developing suburban malls. People moved to the suburbs, guess what? The retailers went with them. And that was the beginning of the end of downtowns. Well, now people want downtowns more than ever. But to make it sustainable for businesses in Uptown Marion, we got to get people there consistent basis, 250 days a year, always some activities, and I'll tell you, the retailers will be there. and they will be sustainable. You won't see the turnover. And the ones that are existing will be able to be far more successful. And then downtown beautification, Wi-Fi, doing an art out project back there. Public restrooms will be really good, ones that are actually open and not locked. And so these are all part of this. And these are just a few of them. A trail system plan, which has already been planned. We start to implement it. Even fun things. This is a thing called Imagination Playground. They do these are all like foam, dense foam. They're like Lincoln Logs. They build these forts and everything. They're all educational. We think it'd be really cool to have like Imagination Playground and everything. Remember, if this focus on kids and family, we'll have as many things as we can because brands are about ownership. And Imagination Playground is just one of these examples. And so we've been working on that whole thing. We're going to write all these up over the next 90 days. Our team will be writing all of these things up. So now we know that we're gearing this to kids and family. No question. You already know that. And now we know what the brand direction is, who we're going to attract, and what do we need to build or do so we own it. So now we write the brand promise. What are we promising people? What is the expectation we want to put out there? And how do we deliver on that? And so when we do this, we got to figure out how do we package you so you're different? Because you know what? I'll bet there's not a city or a town in Iowa that doesn't think they're the best place for kids and families. But what do you have that goes above that? What can we do so that you own it? And so how do you make it different? And how do you make it memorable so people don't forget it? And how do you get it to evoke emotion? So people go, oh, wow, I want to go there. I want to live there. And how do you get people to say, oh, my gosh, yeah. And so here it is. To position Marion as the best place in Iowa and then the Midwest to raise a family and grow a business. That's what our promise, our mission is this. Our promise is Marion is the best place in Iowa to raise a family and grow a business. Now, everybody wants to raise families and grow businesses. So now we got to package this so it's a little different. And so that is our brand promise. And you know what? We always call this brand, so really, if we're going to say this, can you really own it? Well, first of all, you're one of the best places for homeownership in Iowa, according to NerdWallet. I didn't come up with that name. And one of the 10 best towns in the United States for families. Let me give you this. Let me tell you about this. Did you know in the United States there are 19,500 cities and towns? 19,500 cities, towns, 3,500 counties, and you're in the top 10. That means there are 19,490 communities that did not make that list. You did. I mean, that is pretty astounding. And your Bluestone demonstration community, the whole healthy living, your recycling, that's also really helps illustrate this. And then one of the safest cities in Iowa, 13 years and running. If you want to raise a family, I mean, these are pretty cool things. And it's one of Iowa's great places. You won that award. Another one, top-rated schools, Squaw Creek Park, Loud Park, your neighborhoods. One of the things that really impressed us is the way your neighborhoods are designed, many of them, to where you could start there in an apartment. Then, if you want to start a family, you can move into a smaller home. And then you can move into a little larger home as your family grows. And then you can move back to a smaller home when you start to retire or downsize, and then back into that apartment. That's what we call it living the full circle. But you know what's really cool about that? You never even leave the school district. You never even leave your neighborhood. That's pretty cool. And that's one of the things we really like about Marion. The zero waste commitment you have as a city. You have 19 city parks. Well, that's pretty amazing. And then already ingrained in the community's DNA, that this is about family. When people move into the Cedar Rapids area, they're saying, where's the best place for family? If you call up a real estate agent and say, I'm thinking about moving into the Cedar Rapids area, and and I've got 3 kids, where should I move? You know what they're going to say? Most of them, Marion. And that's nothing against Cedar Rapids or anything. But it's already here. And so we need to make a bold statement with all this. We need to claim it, you need to own it. The thing is with brands, it's whoever drives their stake in the ground owns it. Napa Valley. It is the #1 most recognized wine area in the United States. But you know what? In California alone, there are 64 wine countries. Every state has them. Well, Nevada has one winery. But every state has them. But you know what? They throw the stake in the ground. They continually make it better. And they still own the wine brand. We want you to do that with your brand. And then we need to evoke emotion. We need to make it memorable. And you need to elevate yourself above the fray. So, this might be what it looks like. And so, and these, by the way, what you're seeing here, and I'm going to show you more, are just concepts. Nothing's finalized. We're still working on it. But I want to read the messaging to you. Where's my reading glasses? So here it is. I'm just going to read you what that says down there. It says, it's no secret that beautiful Marion, Iowa, just minutes north of Cedar Rapids, is the Midwest's best place to raise a family. Now, we might start with Iowa, but that's our goal, is to get Midwest, okay? It starts with strong beginnings at some of the state's best schools. In a state that's known for its education, continues with dozens of family-focused events, amazing recreational facilities, a vibrant and culturally rich downtown, and beautifully designed neighborhoods. No wonder Marion is one of the fastest-growing cities in the Midwest and one of the youngest. That's true. You see, it's in the DNA of every Marionite. I hope you're okay with that. To know that the sky is never the limit. Our smart, creative, leading-edge, and free-thinking kids, parents, and workers here are changing the world. Isn't it time you changed your world? Reach higher, achieve more in business and in life. You okay? And so, the next thing we did is, what's it look and feel like? You saw a little taste there. And so now you're going to see it. And one thing is about all of these kinds of things, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. That's been Apple's motto since day one. And so here you go. This is what I just said. These are all just concepts, what you're going to see. By the way, for some of these, we even had to use stock photography because we didn't have all of our Marion photography done yet. Because we just did this week. All this took place right here. Greg Frisell, right there. He's our creative director. So we actually created a design studio at City Hall. We designed all the stuff in the last 3 or 4 days. Everything you're going to see. So I'm telling you, it's not finalized. We're still tweaking colors and everything. But we're going to give you a taste of what it is, what it looks like. And we are going to create a brand style guide. So here's another one. Thinking outside the box, what pops? And I'll read you this one too. I'm not going to read them all, but I'm going to read you this one. From the first day at preschool, the kids in Marion become independent thinkers and overachievers. It's in the DNA of nearly all Marionites. You see, we encourage new ways of conquering complex challenges, and it starts with strong, brilliant beginnings at home, at school, at play. I didn't even write this side. If some of you can read that, you go, what the heck is all that gobbledygook? We're still writing these things. And so other messages like this one, by all measures, it's Marion. So these are the kinds of feelings that we want to portray out there. And then, here's another one. By all measures, it's Marion. Let me read you this one. The Midwest is home to a multitude of cities and towns that are great for raising a family. So we're not dissing anybody else. But it's in our DNA to do everything we can to make sure Marion, Iowa, just minutes north of Cedar Rapids, is the best place in the Midwest to raise a family and grow a business. We're home to some of the best schools in the state that's renowned for its educational system. Our culturally rich downtown, incredible recreational amenities, trails, sports fields, aquatic center, golf courses, and office parks are all within a 5 to 10 minute drive of our beautifully designed neighborhoods, saving you nearly 16 8-hour days in commute time that can be spent with family. See, so people live in Marion and commute to work in Marion. You know what? They can be at work in 10 minutes from just about anywhere in the city. You know, the average commute in the country is more than 20 minutes. You know, even in this area. Wouldn't it be cool? You know what that 10 minutes adds up to in the morning and the night, and times 200 days or 250 days, however many days a year we're working weekdays? A lot. We're also a desirable blue zone community where healthy living is a top priority. So live smarter, be happier, achieve more in business and in life. Reach higher. And so, even things like this. Okay, how many of you get that? Are you the Marion type? Get our little play on words there? And I'm not going to read this, but it's about, you know, how great the community is. And these are just samples. Are you the Marion type? You know, and we actually, so this is targeted to that audience. And for economic development, can we do, as I guess, do the math, it's Marion. You know, and we can even do the math, it all adds up to Marion. And actually, we actually have 8 there now, but yesterday we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. So we had to change the slogan to do the math, we can't. So we had to fix that yesterday. And we don't, you know, we're even still working on all of these. Everything is a work in progress, but we wanted to let you know what came from you and the direction this is taking. You know, do the math, it's Marion. You notice that little tagline down there, reach higher. That's what this is about. It's a mission to reach higher. With your uptown, with your school, your kids, everything. We're reaching higher. We're not setting limits at the sky or within the box. Do the math, it's Marion. So this is the last one I'll actually read to you because it's more geared to economic development. You'd be hard-pressed to find a city in the Midwest that doesn't want your business. I'll bet you all 900 cities and towns in Marion want economic development. Really. But you'd be hard-pressed to find a city in the Midwest that has ingrained in its very soul the sharp focus of being the best place to raise a family. And in the process, the best place to grow business, as you'll find in beautiful Marion, Iowa. Just minutes north of Cedar Rapids, Marion is home to amazing business opportunities, some of the best schools in Iowa, incredible recreational amenities, and a smart, educated, young, talented, and free-thinking brain trust. Commute times between our beautifully designed neighborhoods and our industrial park are no more than 10 minutes, providing you with a refreshed, happy crew. We're also a healthy living, cutting-edge blue zone community as well. No wonder Marion is one of the fastest growing cities and one of the youngest in the Midwest. So reach higher, achieve more. Marion. Sound good? All right. And even for uptown Marion, you know, using photographs like this, and we still got a lot to do on the photographs. And by the way, when it came to this whole being the best place to raise a family, we ended up with 2 pages of single-spaced list of why you can outcompete others. It's the best place in Iowa to raise a family. And even for economic development, we think that even if you're industry, you're going to want workers that have a good home life, a happy home life, that have foster healthy living in great schools, right? And so we even play up the family element to attract business. And then so, that's kind of the rough, you know, look and feel of it. Now what are our next things is developing action plan. Branding, development, and marketing action plan. The days of strategic plans are over. Sorry. We're now into action plans. Where's the to-do list? Branding, what did you want to be known for? I think we nailed it. I hope we nailed it. I'm sure we did. What we have to do, what do we have to do to own it? And we have quite a list of things so that if you're going to be that family's, we got to make sure that we do everything we do is going to reinforce that. So, you know, we're going to leave the microbrews and the nightlife and the bar scene to Cedar Rapids. And there's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, if we had a microbrew in Uptown Marion, we're not saying you can't come here because we're all about family. Because remember, we do also want those younger people, those creative classes that aren't there yet. But this is going to be, a lot of the plan is going to be this. And then marketing, how do we tell the world? And then it's a to-do list. As a matter of fact, strategies, goals, and objectives should take more than 3 minutes. This is an actual to-do list. And what's included in this list is going to be, here's the recommendation, like wayfinding, and then who's charged with implementing, that one's probably going to be the city, and then approximate cost to implement, where the money could come from. I mean, if you don't address the money, you're going to have a plan that's sitting on a shelf somewhere gathering dust. And then when would it be done? These are all going to be in chronological order, and then the rationale for doing it. And by the way, there's going to be, the chamber's going to have a list, economics going to have a list, city's going to have a list, Uptown has a list. There's going to be lots of lists of things for everybody to do. And this plan doesn't need to be a 300-page plan. This is the one we did for Alpena, Michigan. We talked just a little bit about branding, and then here's like recommendation number 27. There's recommendation number 28. You don't need a 300-page plan that nobody ever reads past the executive summary. It's like 30, 40 pages. And we just work down the list. And you know what's really cool about this whole branding thing? Isn't this the typical city? We call that the Economic Development Express. It's really clipping along, isn't it? You know what I mean? Everybody's doing their own thing. This plan that you're working on will take you from this to that. That is cool. Because when you're on the same page, pulling the same direction, you come out as one loud voice than a bunch of separate little small voices. Then number 10 is make something happen. There's going to be that wayfinding signage. It might look like this. It might be really fun. We just made it the name Depot Plaza. I don't want people, this is not literal, it's not finalized. And so we want to make it engaging. We want to make it just a fun place to be. Signs like this. And by the way, we did not take that picture in Marion. You go, where did you take that picture? We just superimposed it so you can kind of see what it might look like. Even the pole banners are probably going to change. So we did the reach higher over there on the right. It's just our mission. It's in your DNA to reach higher. And then another thing that we have in there, you heard me talk about before, is a plaza. And I've always said, the heart and soul of a community is its people. Downtown is the soul. It's the same thing with a plaza. And so I'm going to talk about this. We talked about it a little bit before, and we're moving to the European standard. You know what? Nearly every single city and town in Western Europe is built around a piazza, a plaza. We're moving into the age of third places. The first place is the place we live, it's our home. The second place is the place we work. The third place is the place we go to hang out. Starbucks built an entire brand on third places. It's the first company since Cheers, remember? Where everybody knows your name. How many of you remember Cheers? Okay, you just dated yourselves. You can't be on our committee now. No, I'm kidding. But I want to give you a good example. We're working in Rapid City, South Dakota. Population there is 60,000. So it's bigger than you are, but they don't have a Cedar Rapids next to them. Matter of fact, the next biggest city is Billings, Montana. It's like a 3-hour drive away. This was right downtown. They had this parking lot right here. This is an old Sears building. Pigeons were living in it. And we said, we think you should do a plaza there. So a guy came along, bought this Sears building, and then they created Main Street Square. You can see the stage on the left, you can see the Sears building on the left, and then you can see they have a little splash pad there. Look at that lawn area there. And then in the winter, that turns into that. That's bigger than Rockefeller Center. Ice skating rink. By the way, they make $130,000 a year just renting ice skates. And by the way, the ice is 120 days a year. Their splash pad that's out there is another 100 days a year. I mean, it's all lit up at night. It's really a cool place. And somebody posted this on the web. Movie night, Main Street Square, Rapid City. By the way, every Monday night during the summer months, spring, summer, and fall months, they do movies on the square, and guess what? Their average attendance is 3,500. And look what somebody wrote. I grew up in Rapid City. It was never as cool as it is now. That's pretty cool. And so I actually went back to Rapid City and went in and talked to 24 merchants. By the way, they complained about, you're taking away the parking. I mean, if they can't park right in front of my store, you're going to kill my business. And of course I said, are you telling me your business isn't worth walking a block for? This may come up in Marion. But I went back. They made a list of the merchants that fought Main Street Square. I went back a year after it opened, secret shopping. I just walked in and I would make a face. I go, you know that plaza over there? Did that really help your business? And every single one of them basically said that quote. Best thing that Rapid City has ever done. And if you're about kids and family, we've got to create these kinds of places. They have no retail vacancies. They have a lower turnover ratio. Their businesses are now later, open into the evening. Their retailers are breaking sales records and continue to break them. And the average age is dropping. Matter of fact, in 3 years that it's been open, the average age of a person buying a home in Rapid City dropped by 12 years. The youth are coming back. And it is nearly as big an attraction as Mount Rushmore. Before that, I called them the hole in the middle of the donut. Because people go to Rapid City, stay in a hotel, they get up in the morning, they go to Mount Rushmore, they go to Crazy Horse Memorial, they go to Badlands National Park, they go to Devil's Tower in Wyoming, they go to Custer State Park where Kevin Costner filmed Dances with Wolves. They're doing all this other stuff and then come back at the end of the day, they never went downtown. And so, a true plaza is a central gathering place. It's a year-round activity center. It includes interactive water features, ice in the winter. You know, it is programmed at least 250 days a year. And it includes a stage, lighting, sound system. I mean, all of these things that incorporates retail food year-round. And so, just to give you a couple quick examples, this is in Caldwell, Idaho. This building is already gone. But it's got kind of that shape there, and you can see there's a street right there, and they're doing a plaza. That's how big the plaza is going to be. And so if you were to look at it from that angle right there, this is what it's going to look like. Wouldn't that be cool to have one of those in Marion? Awesome. So this is different than the amphitheater they have in Cedar Rapids. This is an activity center. And so even in Topeka, Kansas, they're going to do this. These buildings are about to come out. They're going to close off this little side street, and that's going to be the size of their plaza. And if you were looking at it that angle, it's going to look like that. It's smaller scale, but it's still a gathering place, and it's going to be focused on families for you. This is another one in that place I showed you, Edmonton, Alberta. I showed you the Champions. This is what they're doing. This is the site. There was a gas station there. And you know what? Now, these buildings, the owners of these buildings say, well, we want to tear these buildings out and put buildings right here fronting onto this little plaza. And so there it is from the ground level. And that is going to look like that. Wouldn't that be cool? So we have all kinds of great ideas in this area of Marion. So somewhere in here, we want to create that. And it's going to have a family focus. This is kind of our core area. The library's working on plans. Here's the mall, that's the strip mall right there. And here's, of course, the depot. And so somewhere in this area, we want to make this work. And here's 7th and 6th. And so it's going to be really awesome. Just remember, all brands are built on product, not marketing. So we want to get that place where the families can come and they can do those imagination playgrounds and do all of these activities. And then keep the energy high. Don't fold to the naysayers. You know, forget all the reasons why something may not work. You'll only find one good reason why it will. And you cannot fold to the cavers. How many of you know what cavers are? Yeah, a few of you. For you that don't, here it is. Citizens against virtually everything. There probably aren't any in Marion, are there? Okay, that's what I thought. And here's our champions. A diamond is merely a lump of coal that did well under pressure. And that's going to start right now. We've got the press here. We've got lots of people here. It's going to start. But keep the energy high. And number 12, you got to tell the world. You got to put it out there. Brands are about telling the world that you own it. Otherwise, if you don't own it, somebody else is going to take it. One of those things is creating the very best Uptown Marion. Promote your top restaurants, your top retail shops, your top activities, particularly those that are geared to families. So that's one of the things that's in this. Tell the world, wouldn't it be cool if your parks and recreational vehicles looked like that? Or like that? Make it fun. Make people go, wow, this is a fun place. Wouldn't it be cool if the city, the letterheads and everything, we already designed Amanda's letterhead for, and business card and everything. Wouldn't it be fun? Make it fun, engaging. Sometimes we always try to be so corporate. You know, and so what we want to do is put a different feeling out there. Wouldn't it be fun to have some cool logo gear? Remember, this is about kids and family. Well, I see every kid carrying the Marion backpack. Wouldn't that be fun? We even thought, should we put throw hire? Even the beanie hats, doing something. We just want to make it fun, make it engaging. That really, so that you solidify the ownership of this cool brand. Because you already have it. You just got to tell the world. And so, reach higher. These are key marketing messages. Reach higher, achieve more in business and in life. We're going to put that out there a lot. It's in our DNA. It is why people are moving here. And why you're growing. Dozens of family-focused events. Now, we might not be there yet, but remember, this is also a mission. And you do have lots. You probably already have dozens. And then brilliant beginnings at home, at school, at play. These are just key marketing messages we're going to put out there. And then by all measures, it's Marion. So when you're looking for a place to retire, live, raise a family, by all measures, it's Marion. And then do the math, it always adds up to Marion. Key marketing messages. And then revisit the plan every couple of months. This plan that you're doing, that we're developing with you over the next 90 days, is a work. It's always, you might add a recommendation. You might say, well, now we need to update this. So we're always looking at it. It's like looking at your to-do list. How many of you do to-do lists? Anybody here do to-do lists? I do. And do you look at them more than once? You have to. That's what this plan is. So this is not something that you read the executive summary and then set it aside. You're going to go down that list, and you know what's going to happen? In 2 years, you say, okay, we need to add 10 more things to the list. Amanda's already going, oh, please. But that's what you do. And so, in the end, here's to the very, very bright future of an incredible community. We have loved working with you. Marion, reach higher. Thanks for letting us be a part of the show. Thank you very much.